The Nine Stones, also known as the Devil's Nine Stones, the Nine Ladies, or Lady Williams and her dog, is a stone circle located near to the village of Winterbourne Abbas in the southwestern English county of Dorset. Archaeologists believe that it was likely erected during the Bronze Age. The Nine Stones is part of a tradition of stone circle construction that spread through much of Britain, Ireland, and Brittany between 3300 and 900 BCE, during the late Neolithic and early Bronze Age. The stone circle tradition was accompanied by the construction of timber circles and earthen henges, reflecting a growing emphasis on circular monuments. The purpose of such rings is unknown, although archaeologists speculate that the stones represented supernatural entities for the circle's builders. At least 9 of these stone circles are known to have been constructed near modern Dorset. They are smaller than those found elsewhere in Britain and are typically built from sarsen stone. Located in the bottom of a narrow valley, the Nine Stones Circle has a diameter of 9.1 meters by 7.8 meters 29 feet 10 inches by 25 feet 11 inches. It consists of 9 irregularly spaced sarsen megaliths, with a small opening on its northern side. 2 of the stones on the northwestern side of the monument are considerably larger than the other 7. This architectural feature has parallels with various stone circles in southwestern Scotland, and was potentially a deliberate choice of the circle's builders, to whom it may have had symbolic meaning. Antiquarians like John Aubrey and William Stukeley first took an interest in the site during the 18th century. It later received archaeological attention, although it has not been excavated. Local folklore has grown up around the circle, associating it with the devil and with children petrified into rock. The Nine Stones are regarded as a sacred site by local Druids, who perform religious ceremonies there. The circle is adjacent to the A35 road and encircled by trees. The site is owned by English Heritage and is open without charge to visitors. Location: the Nine Stones Circle is positioned at the National Grid reference 36,100,904, on the western edge of the village of Winterbourne Abbas in Dorset, southwest England. Enclosed within iron railings, it is surrounded on 3 sides by trees and on the north side by the A35 road. The roots of a beech tree have engulfed 2 of the megaliths in the circle. The archaeologist Aubrey Burrell noted that while this petite ring should be a delight to see, it was instead a frustration as a result of its restricted location. He noted that it was difficult to take clear photographs of the site because of the surrounding trees. Context: while the transition from the early Neolithic to the late Neolithic, which took place with the transition from the 4th to the 3rd millennium BCE, witnessed much economic and technological continuity, it also saw a considerable change in the style of monuments erected, particularly in southern and eastern England. By 3000 BCE, the long barrows, causewayed enclosures, and cursuses which had predominated in the early Neolithic had ceased being built, and were instead replaced by circular monuments of various kinds. These include earthen henges, timber circles, and stone circles. These stone rings are found in most areas of Britain where stone is available, with the exception of the island's southeastern corner. Stone circles are most densely concentrated in southwestern Britain and on the northeastern Horn of Scotland, near Aberdeen. The tradition of their construction may have lasted for 2,400 years, from 3,300 to 900 BCE, with the major phase of building taking place between 3000 and 1,300 BCE. These stone circles typically show very little evidence of human visitation during the period immediately following their creation. This suggests that they were not sites used for rituals that left archaeologically visible evidence, and may have been deliberately created to serve as what the historian Ronald Hutton describes as silent and empty monuments. The archaeologist Mike Parker Pearson suggested that in Neolithic Britain, stone was associated with the dead and wood with the living. Other archaeologists have suggested that the stone might not represent ancestors, but rather other supernatural entities, such as deities. Burrell described modern Dorset as having a thin scatter of stone circles, with 9 possible examples known within the county's boundaries. The archaeologist John Gale described these as a small but significant group of such monuments, and all are located within 5 miles of the sea. All but one Rempstone stone circle on the Isle of Purbeck are located on the chalk hills west of Dorchester. The Dorset circles have a simplistic typology and are of a comparatively small size in comparison to other British stone circles, with none exceeding 28 meters 92 feet in diameter. All are oval in shape, although they perhaps have been altered from their original form. With the exception of the Rempstone circle, all consist of sarsen stone. Much of this may have been obtained from the Valley of Stones, a location at the foot of Crow Hill near to Little Bridie, which is located within the vicinity of many of these circles. With the exception of the circle at Lytton Cheney, none display evidence of any outlying stones or earthworks around the stone circle. The archaeologists Stuart and Cicely Piggott believed that the circles of Dorset were probably of Bronze Age origin, a view endorsed by Burrell, who noted that their distribution did not match that of any known Neolithic sites. It is possible that they were not all constructed around the same date, and the Pigotts suggested that while they may well be early Bronze Age in date, it is also possible that their use and possibly their construction may last into the Middle and even into the Late Bronze Age. Their nearest analogies are the circles found on Dartmoor and Exmoor to the west, and the Stanton Drew stone circles to the north. It is also possible that the stone circles were linked to a number of earthen henges erected in Dorset around the same period. Description and design. The Nine Stones Circle has been described by Gale as probably the most well-documented of all those surviving in the county. It measures 9.1 meters by 7.9 meters 29 feet 10 inches by 25 feet 11 inches in diameter, as measured from a north to south direction. The stones are of sarsen or conglomerate. A gap between two stones on the side of the circle adjacent to the road may suggest that there was once a 10th stone in the monument. Given its dimensions, the circle could only accommodate a small number of individuals assembling within it. 7 of the 9 surviving stones are under 90 centimeters 3 feet tall, but 2 of the northwest stones are considerably larger. Located opposite the circle's 2 shortest stones, one is thin and pointed, reaching 2.1 meters 7 feet high, while the other is broader, measuring 1.8 meters square 6 feet by 6 feet. The largest of the stones weighs approximately 7.3 tons 8 tons and would have required the efforts of many people to move and erect it. This disparity between the sizes of the megaliths is unparalleled among the other surviving stone circles in the Dorset area, and may have been a deliberate choice by the circle's builders, perhaps reflecting sexual symbolism. There are a number of similar circles in southwestern Scotland, for example the Laupin Stones, Ninestane Rig, and Burg Hill, all of which share the architectural feature of having 2 taller stones on their perimeters. Potentially supporting this link between Dorset and southwestern Scotland is the fact that the Grey Mare and her colts, a chambered long barrow located 2.5 miles southwest of the Nine Stones, displays architectural similarities with the Clyde-Solway tradition of chambered long barrows. Landscape context and related monuments. The circle is located at the bottom of a narrow valley. Though this is unusual for a monument of this type, the Dorset Rempstone Stone Circle was also erected within a valley. The antiquarian John Aubrey recorded a further stone circle, located about a kilometer half a mile to the west of the Nine Stones, which was of similar dimensions to it. It was later destroyed, although as of the 1930s 3 stones were recorded as remaining at the site. Gale later suggested that this site may not have even been a stone circle at all, but might instead have been the remains of an early Neolithic chambered tomb. He noted, however, that as nothing remains it is at the moment impossible to resolve. There is also a fallen standing stone known as the Broad Stone, which measures 2 meters 6.6 feet in length and which lies beside the road about 1.5 kilometers 0.9 miles to the west of the Nine Stones. As it was recorded in the 19th century it measured 3 meters 10 feet in length, 2 meters 6.5 feet in breadth, and 0.6 meters 2 feet in thickness. The monument was protected from passing cars by several bollards which were later removed by the Highways Authority, prompting statements of concern that the stone was unprotected in 2008. Later history. Antiquarian and archaeological research. The circle was recorded by Aubrey in the 17th century, and then by William Stukeley in the 18th century. Aubrey recorded the presence of 9 megaliths at the site, as did Stukeley's 1723 drawing of it. In the 19th century the site was visited by the antiquarian Charles Warne, who wrote about it in his 1872 book Ancient Dorset. He claimed that he could discern the existence of a 10th stone, although on visiting the site in 1936, the Pigotts noted that they could find no evidence of this. Gale later stated that this claim has never been substantiated. Warne had consulted Aubrey's manuscript, but confused Aubrey's illustration of the Devil's Quoits at Stanton Harcourt, Oxfordshire, for a monument that he believed had once been located near to the Nine Stones. In 1888, the local council decreed that along with the Grey Mare and her colts and the Tennant Hill Stone Circle site would be registered as an ancient monument under the Ancient Monuments Protection Act 1882. In August 1916, the site was then listed as a scheduled monument. The circle was included in the archaeologist O.G.S. Crawford's map of Neolithic Wessex, printed by the Ordnance Survey in 1932. As of 2003, the site had not been excavated. Folklore. In 1908, the stone circle was known as the Nine Ladies and the Devil's Nine Stones, and in 1941 they were associated with both the devil and human sacrifice in local folklore. As of 1968, the stone circle was still known as the Devil's Nine Stones. In 1966, a man from Winterbourne St. Martin claimed that the stones were the devil, his wife, and his children. There are many ancient sites across Britain with names that associate them with the devil. Examining such place names, the folklorist Jeremy Hart argued that they did not develop during the Christianization of England in the early Middle Ages, but rather they were applied to such sites in later centuries, often supplanting the name of an earlier folkloric or legendary figure. In 1965 a woman from the Isle of Portland stated that her own father had always raised his cap when passing the circle. At the same time local folklore was recorded as holding that the stones in the ring could not be counted. This countless stones motif is not unique to this particular site, and can be found at various other megalithic monuments in Britain. The earliest textual evidence for it is found in an early 16th century document, where it applies to the stone circle of Stonehenge in Wiltshire, although in an early 17th century document it was being applied to the hurlers, a set of 3 stone circles in Cornwall. Later records revealed that it had gained widespread distribution in England, as well as a single occurrence each in Wales and Ireland. The folklorist S.P. Menefee suggested that it could be attributed to an animistic understanding that these megaliths had lives of their own. The archaeologist Leslie Grinsell reported that in the mid-1970s, he learned of a folk tale that the stones had once been children who were turned to stones as punishment for playing 5 stones on a Sunday. This folk motif of humans turned to stone for reveling on a Sunday had been attached to a range of prehistoric monuments across southwestern Britain by the early 18th century, although it had been first recorded in Cornwall in 1602. It is likely connected to Sabbatarianism, and may have been spread by Protestant preachers. In 1984, Hart talked to various individuals who lived in the local area, finding that the monument was also known as Lady Williams and her dog or Lady Williams and her little dog Fido, a reference to a family who lived at Bridehead House, Littlebredy. He also related a story that on January 23, 1985, a breakdown van was towing a car past the 9 stones when, at 9:15 p.m., its engine cut out and the lights on both vehicles failed. Press coverage speculated that the event was linked to both a ley line passing through the site and to unidentified flying objects that have been reported above the nearby Egerton Hill. Recent developments. The site is in the care of English Heritage, and can be visited at any time. The circle is considered a place of religious importance to a modern Druidic group called the Dolmen Grove Druids. They have described having to confront individuals shouting abuse at them while they have performed their rituals at the stone circle. In October 2007, the sides of the stones facing the road were daubed in white paint with the slogans Red Family Court Hell and F4J. F4J was also painted onto the side of Dorset's Hardy Monument. The activist group Fathers for Justice, whose acronym is F4J, denied any responsibility, condemned the action, and suggested that the slogans had been painted on by unknown individuals in an attempt to discredit the group. Concern about the vandalism was expressed by the National Trust, the local landowner, and the Dolmen Grove Druids.